Will you ever let someone back in your life after they tried to shamelessly break up your marriage? Personally, I never thought I would, but that is exactly what happened. For some background, let me tell you that my mother-in-law, Anne, never liked me. It wasn't because of me particularly. She was just extra possessive of her son, my husband, Dominic. Anne's husband had divorced her and abandoned them when Dominic was 2. After that, Anne clung to him for everything. It was downright unhealthy, and even Dominic understood that. But Anne was still his mom, so he did his best not to make her too upset. Before me, Anne was able to successfully drive away all the women who tried to date Dominic. It was a mess every time, and she did some nasty stuff to get rid of them. She had also tried several things with me, but I was stubborn enough not to flee because of her antics. I really loved Dominic and stayed. Dominic also did his best to stand up for me. When we announced our engagement, Anne came to my house to beg me to cancel it, saying, "I can't lose my only son, Lila. You have to understand me. I don't have anyone else." "No, I don't understand you, Anne. Dominic loves me and wants to be with me. He loves you too, and he will always be your son. Why are you trying to destroy his happiness? He will always have a special place for you." "I will not share him with anyone. He is my son and I should be his everything. You better cancel this wedding and move away from him. If you don't do what I say, I will destroy you. I'm asking you nicely. Go away." I put my foot down and refused to do as she said. In retaliation, she literally cancelled my entire wedding, pretending to be me. She also tried to get me fired from my office. Dominic now understood the severity of the situation and finally went no contact. We had a small wedding and lived happily for 5 years without Anne in our lives. Several years passed and we shut down all contact with Anne. We also ended up having a beautiful son named Jason. Dominic and I were very happy, but I could tell he was sad his mom wasn't there to share his happiness. His armor was starting to chip, and I knew he would give in sooner or later. And when Anne contacted us from a new number, desperately begging for forgiveness, Dominic broke down and said, "Please give my mom a chance, Lila. I know there is a lot of bad blood between you two, but I'm the only one she has. I want Jason to know his grandma." "Believe me, Dominic, I want that too. I want Jason to know his only grandmother since my mom is already dead. But I don't feel comfortable having her back. I simply don't trust Anne." "She's really sorry, Lila. Just give her a chance and let's see. You don't have to worry. I'm sure she will never hurt Jason. She isn't a monster, Lila. It would mean the world to me if you agree." I gave in, guys. I didn't want my son and husband to despise me for not giving Anne a chance. It had been years and Anne really did sound remorseful. We met with her without Jason and she did offer what we felt were heartfelt apologies, so after a lot of careful consideration we resumed contact. We didn't go all out at once. Dominic and I were super careful and slowly started to build back the relationship. She was only allowed supervised visitation with Jason and didn't get to take him anywhere without us. Anne never complained and even acted civilly around me. However, my instincts were stuck, screaming, and I felt weary. I could see that Anne still hated me, and no matter how hard she tried, I saw right through her. But there was nothing I could do about it. Dominic was happy to have his mom back, while Jason also ended up having an amazing relationship with her. Everything was going fine the way it was. Everyone was happy with the arrangements until Anne requested to have Jason alone for a day. Apparently she wanted to bond better with him and said that she deserved it after listening to us for 2 years. Dominic immediately begged me to agree, and so did Jason. There was nothing I could do, actually, so I agreed. Everyone was happy, but my head was making some noises about this. My weariness did trouble me, so I decided to teach him something. I said, "I know you love Grandma a lot, Jason. However, you do know that sometimes people can end up being dangerous to you, right?" Yes, Mom, I remember that. Are you worried about me, Mom? Yes, son, I'm worried about you. Do you remember how I taught you to call 911 once you sense danger? Yeah, Mom, I remember that. I know how to ask for help if I need it. Don't worry, Mom, I can take care of myself. Jason's last line made me laugh, but I was a little relieved knowing that he knew how to ask for help if necessary. I had to let him go sometimes, so teaching him to ask for help was necessary. This gave me some hope when I dropped him off at Anne's house that day. When I was back to pick Jason up, my worst nightmares came true. Anne and Jason weren't home. Instead of panicking immediately, I decided to think rationally. They may have gone out to the park or to a restaurant. With that hope in mind, I called Anne to ask her where they were. However, Anne wasn't picking up the phone. The fear inside me grew and I started to get really scared. Nothing had prepared me for what I was about to find out. When Anne finally picked up the phone, I said, "Where on earth are you, Anne? I came by your house to pick up my son, but none of you are here. The door's also locked." It was a nice surprise, wasn't it, Lil? I don't understand what you're trying to say, Anne. I need to know where you are and where my son is. You would really like to know, wouldn't you, Lila? What if I am not in the mood to tell you where we are? I was starting to get ticked off by the way Anne was speaking to me. I'm a very straightforward woman and don't like beating around the bush. I always come straight to the point and am vocal about everything I do, so Anne's stupid game was really getting on my nerves. I also had no idea why she was being this way. She did sound super cheerful and mischievous. That was a pretty big red flag, and I was starting to get bad vibes from her. I said with a little irritation, "Sorry, Anne. I am not in the mood for jokes and games right now. It's pretty late, and Jason needs to have dinner and go to sleep. He has school tomorrow, so I would really appreciate it if you could tell me where you are." No can do, Lila. Like I said, I don't feel like telling you where we are. But don't worry, your son and I are having a lot of fun. This is all irrelevant information, Anne. I need my son back right now. If you don't want to tell me where you are, you better come back home immediately and hand Jason over. I am not playing around. I'm also not playing around, Lila. You want your son back? Well, guess what, my dear daughter-in-law? You won't be getting him back ever again. That was the moment when I knew something was horribly wrong. My blood ran cold, and millions of bad thoughts raced through my brain. I was afraid of Anne doing something stupid. I knew she was up to no good. I wish I would have listened to my gut. I actually started to shake a little from fear. Anne's tone changed drastically when she told me that she won't be giving Jason back. It was threatening and downright mean. It sent chills down my back, and I forced myself to remain calm because I knew panicking won't do much good. What I did do was start recording the call because my instincts were screaming at me to do so. Then I said, "What are you talking about, Anne? This is not at all funny. Bring me my son back. I'm not joking." "I'm not joking either, Lila. I already told you that you won't get your son back. God, I wish I could see your face right now." "Please, Anne, don't be like this. You're making me panic. This is not okay. I need Jason back. Just tell me where you are and I will pick him up." Anne laughed at me while I was in a panic. Yes, guys, she straight up started to laugh at my useless attempt to make her talk. Even over the phone, I could tell that she was acting very unhinged. Now, I was getting even more scared and didn't know what to do. I had half a mind to jump into my car and go looking around town to find them. But then again, I was still hoping Anne was scaring me or simply messing with me out of spite. Well, I was right about one thing. She did everything out of spite, but things were worse than I had imagined. My doubts were confirmed when Anne said through her laughter, "Oh, are you scared, my little daughter-in-law? Do you feel sad that you can't see your son because of me? How does it feel to have someone take your son away from you?" "Why are you saying these things, Anne? What does this even mean? I'm scared out of my mind, Anne. You can't do this. Please, just give me back my son." This is how I felt when you took my son away from me. It doesn't feel so good when you are the victim, does it now, Lila? What? Anne, you are acting insane. You don't know what you're doing. For God's sake, drop this madness. You didn't stop pursuing my son when I told you to stop. You didn't listen to me when I told you to go away from our lives. You didn't even end your wedding when I begged you to. When I took matters into my own hands, you turned my son against me and made him go no contact. Do you think I would let you get away with that? Absolutely not, Lila. It was then I became sure that Anne was acting out of spite. Her hatred for me had absolutely made her lose whatever little sanity she had. I can't describe to you guys how nerve-wracking it was to listen to her talk. The more she talked, the more I was starting to shake. My mind was full of fear, and I kept pacing her driveway, unsure of what to do. I continued talking to her, saying, "What you are doing and saying is absolutely ridiculous, Anne. I didn't make Dominic go no contact with you. It was his decision along with mine. He loves me and I love him. If you had just accepted this, you would have been in our lives." "Oh, stop that nonsense, Lila. My son has no use for you. We were happy even before you made your disrupting appearance in our lives. My son had started to divide his attention and love. I wasn't going to sit by and watch it happen." "You are truly delusional, Anne. You can't expect your son to stay single forever. This was bound to happen someday. We are happy, Anne. You should understand that." "Well, I don't care, Lila. I'm unhappy. I needed to do something about it. I asked you nicely many times to go away from our lives, but you ended up taking away my son too. I had to do something. I needed to do something, and I finally did it. I stole your son from you, just like you stole my son from me." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother-in-law was so unhinged that she kept her anger within her for 10 years. She was waiting for us to let her back in so that she could teach me a lesson. She was truly insane, and the thought of her harming my son brought tears to my eyes. With the phone shaking in my hand, I put her on loudspeaker while I furiously typed a message to my husband detailing everything. Meanwhile, I was also trying to stay connected to Anne, hoping that I would be able to get some clue about where she was. I carefully said, "Listen to me, Anne. You need to cut this out. I know you are mad at me and all, but leave my son out of this." "Oh, please, I will do whatever I want. You took my son, so it's only fair that I take yours." "This is wrong, Anne. Think about Dominic. You love your son, and what you're doing is going to make him hate you." "He will come around, Lila. Dominic is my son, and he knows that his mother is more important than anyone. He came around after the no contact, didn't he? He will do it this time too. Then me, him, and my grandson will live happily without you." "You are wrong about that, Anne. Dominic will never forgive you for this. In fact, he is currently out of his office trying to look for you." "It won't do him any good. He will never find me and Jason. I will tell him our location when Dominic finally realizes that he made a mistake marrying you." "I've had enough of your nonsense, Anne. Tell me your location, or I promise you I will call the cops on you. I will hunt you down." Anne laughed at me again. This laughter was just downright chilling to my ears. It was clear to me that she had carefully planned this and wasn't going to get caught so easily. Still, I thought that maybe she would change her mind once I threatened her with the cops. However, she didn't show any sign of fear at all. She was happily laughing at me and said, "Good luck with calling the cops, Lila. Believe me, it'll do you no good." "What? What do you mean? What have you done?" "Jason and I are not even in your state anymore, my dear daughter-in-law, so calling the cops won't be of any help, and by the time they track me down, I would be gone already." "What is wrong with you, Anne? You are a psychotic woman who needs to be locked up." "That will never happen, Lila. It is only a matter of time before Dominic gives in and returns to me. Jason loves me too, so I am sure we will be able to convince him to live happily without us. You took one person from me, I will take two from you. I was in the middle of having a panic attack, thinking about the worst. Dominic was already down at the police station to file a report while I was standing in Anne's driveway and kept talking to her to find out more. But the moment she said that she took my son out of state, my heart shattered and a coldness washed over me. I was scared for my son and desperately prayed to God that Jason remembered what I taught him. Just when I was about to break down, there was a loud banging sound on the phone. I could hear my mother-in-law saying to someone, "What is going on, Jason? Why have you locked yourself in the bathroom?" "I know you tried to kidnap me and that you want to take me away from my mom. You lied to me, saying that my parents wanted to surprise me. I heard you talk over the phone and tell Mom that you won't take me back to them." "Don't be such a child, Jason. We are having fun here, right? Your dad will be here soon. I'm sure of it. Then the three of us will have a good life here. We don't need your mother anymore." Anne was trying to coerce my son into coming out of the bathroom. I was a little relieved to hear his voice and know that he was physically okay. My son is a brave boy, and he picked up on the fact that Anne had lied to him to take him away. It made me so mad to hear the details of Anne's plan. I wanted to go and strangle the life out of her. Anne was distracted in her attempts to get Jason to cooperate, but I took this chance to yell over the phone and talk to Jason, hoping that he would hear me. "My baby boy, Jason, Mom is here. I promise you and your dad will get you out of this, Jason. Be brave for me, please." "There is no use trying to make false promises to your son, Lila. You and I both know that he will stay with me from now on. There is no way you will ever find us." "Don't worry, Mom. I'm okay. I called the police on the hotel landline like you had taught me. They will be here soon. I'm still on the phone with them, Mom. It was a cordless phone, so I took it with me." The moment Jason said those words, I felt a world of relief. The shaking in my legs slowly started to go away, and a deep sense of pride also resided in my heart. My son hadn't forgotten the little lessons that I had taught him. Despite loving his grandmother, he was able to recognize exactly when she was being a danger to him. My boy is clever and brave. Hearing the fact that he had not only called the cops, but also locked himself so that Anne wouldn't harm him was super clever. He remembered all my teachings and used his own presence of mind to make sure he was safe from Anne as much as he could. I continued to talk to Jason, trying to give him some encouragement, while Anne absolutely went crazy at him. "What did you do, you little devil? You called the cops on me, Jason? I'm your grandmother." "Do you think I didn't teach my son anything, Anne? He knows exactly what to do when someone becomes an unsafe person. He is not stupid, unlike you, Anne. Your game is up." "I can still take him away, Lila. He's still with me, and you don't even know where you are." "Jason, there is no use trying to call the cops. I will take you and leave again." "You won't be able to do that, Grandma. The 911 lady is saying that the cops are already at the hotel, and you can't get me out before they come. I won't come out. Mom, we're in Colorado. Come and get me, Mom." It blew my mind to hear that Anne had literally taken my son 2 states over. Yes, she made sure that we wouldn't be able to reach him in a short time. I wouldn't have known their location if Jason hadn't revealed this little information. My boy did everything possible to make sure he could be rescued. I was fuming at Anne's audacity while she continued to make displeased sounds at Jason and said, "It was a mistake bringing you, Jason. You are a wicked child, just like your mother. I should have gone after my son after all." "That wouldn't have worked either, Anne. Your son would not have supported your insane behavior. In fact, he is reporting you to the cops just as we speak." No, he wouldn't do that to me. Dominic wouldn't do that to his own mother." "Why don't you ask him then?" "I'm already at the police station. You can ask your son if he supports you." That's right, guys. While talking to them, Dominic had driven over from the police station, which was just a few blocks away from Anne's house. He had already reached the place and looked very angry and worried. I had been texting him throughout this time, so he knew how Jason had protected himself. Our goal now was to keep Anne distracted till the cops barged into her hotel room. I immediately handed Dominic the phone since he was ready to burst with anger. He roared at Anne and said, "Mom, what have you done? How dare you kidnap my son and think I would support you? How could you do this?" "Why are you so angry with me, Dominic? I only wanted my son back. I wanted you back, so I did this. I didn't hurt Jason. I just wanted to teach your wicked wife a lesson." "Don't you dare insult my wife and try to justify your actions, Mom. You are the wicked one here and no one else. After what you did today, I regret ever getting back in contact with you." "What? How could you say that to me, Dominic? I'm your mother. I should come before anyone else in your life. Your wife has poisoned you against me." "That's it, Mom. You need to stop talking. I don't want to hear another word from you. The fact that you won't even take responsibility for your actions says everything I need to know. I have already filed a police report and will be pressing charges against you. And I will make sure you go to jail." "What? You want me to go to jail?" "Absolutely, Mom. You are going to pay for what you tried to do. You are never getting forgiven. We will be filing a restraining order and don't even think about coming back in our lives again. You are dead to me." Dominic was super angry and literally poured his heart out. He was willing to put his mom in jail now that he knew how horrible she could be. I was proud of my husband for standing up to his mom and making her face some serious but well-deserved consequences. Anne, however, was devastated and kept crying about how unfair it was. She went on for like a minute before the cops barged into the hotel room. When the cops came, Anne soon turned to begging us to save her. She cried and screamed about how she made a mistake and would never do this again. She was desperate, but no one listened to her. Dominic and I literally cried into each other as we heard the cops arrest Anne and rescue our son. Our nightmare was finally over. After the cops arrested Anne, they took Jason down to the police station to keep him safe until Dominic and I reached him. We immediately booked a flight and went to get our precious son back. Jason cried a lot when he was back in our arms. We cried with him too. We promised never to let him get out of our sight again. And we also awarded him heavily for being such a clever boy. We went back home when the cops told us that they didn't need us in Colorado anymore. Anne was still in jail when we left Colorado. She had spent most of her money on the hotel and flight, so she couldn't pay her bail. Everyone in the family knew what she had tried to do because we told them. All of them were extremely horrified and went into contact with her too. So she couldn't get anyone to post bail for her either. Anne did end up going to jail like everyone had wanted. She did seem remorseful at court when she saw us, but the damage was done. The judge didn't go lightly on her either. She went through a psychological evaluation, and it was found that she didn't have severe mental health issues. So Anne was just a plain bad person. She actually got a jail term of 5 years. Dominic and I rejoiced when we heard her sentencing. We also got restraining orders that we will continue to keep as long as we can. Jason has been out into therapy to deal with what happened, but he is still the happy kid he was. My family is finally free from that poisonous woman, and we are happy to be back safe and sound in our home.